Okay, let's get started. Good evening, everyone. Uh,
Good evening.
Sincere apologies for us starting late today. I think this is the worst we've ever had in terms of the time. Most of us didn't really join on time. I will reach out to them separately, maybe after the meeting. Let me know what happened today. If the time is not, I don't think anybody has complained about the time before, so I don't think it might have to do with the timing. But once again, I appreciate us that are here on time. Um, this is another opportunity for us to learn, share.
Sorry. Okay.
Okay, this is
Sorry.
another.
I will. That time is also a factor anyway. For me, you can see
Maybe,
that
maybe
I've been missing it just today.
maybe we might, the way we changed, the way we had to go with a different platform. Before we were using Skype, so we had to opt for Zoom. So maybe we might have that conversation and know if the timing is the challenge and what time is at least convenient to most of us. So once again, we appreciate us for coming. This is another opportunity for us to learn, share, and grow. And today, fortunately, we have an expert when it comes to project delivery and project delivery. So today we have in the house.
Hello.
Ebuka, thank you for joining us. Thank you for accepting the request to talk to us. So the floor is yours, please. Go ahead. Hello, Ebuka. The floor is yours. Hello, Ebuka.
An idea of where everyone else is. I know that we have come across the Agile the technology space today. So just for the few of us on this call, if anyone can just give their own explanation of
Not used Agile project before. This is my first time of coming across it. I've not used it. I've heard about it, and I see people use it, but I have not used it personally.
Okay. Sunday, what about you? You want to talk about it? Hello, Sunday.
Are you sure he has not muted himself?
Hello, can everyone hear me? Sorry, I've been battling with my network. I had to change the provider. Okay. So yeah, the question is around Agile. What's my little understanding on Agile?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. It's a method of project delivery, like the title says, where the work is broken into different tasks, different sprints, and delivered in iterations. So say you have a big project, you break the project into different tasks or different sprints, and each sprint is a complete bit, a complete functionality of that particular whole project. You're not delivering the whole project at the same time, but you're just breaking the project into functional modules or functional tasks. That's my little understanding of Agile.
Yeah, and that understanding is correct. So the core of it is breaking down the work that is to be done, right, and delivering in iterations or increments. So you are slowly but surely getting to the final solution build. You have an idea of a product, and they are trying to take steps to make it happen. And the good thing about it is you might not have a full view of the product or project. You don't need to have a full view when you're starting Agile. Waterfall, you have to know everything about it, because if you don't factor it into your development, you can't bring in new requirements when you're talking about testing. So, but the good thing about the Agile method of project delivery is that you don't need to know everything. You can know a small part of it. Start working on that part, and as new requirements keep coming up, you are learning new things and adding new features to the product. So let me just move to the slide. The definition here is
Hello?
use of man. Yeah, hello. Can you
Hello.
hear me?
Can't
Yeah,
even hear your voices again. What is
I think
happening?
it's your network. I can hear him. Maybe check your network. Maybe
I think Emmanuel left the call. He's trying to join
join
again.
back. Okay, might be his network.
But we have Oduayo,
Yeah.
my former CIU here. So really, this is just one of those textbook definitions. Use of an iterative and incremental delivery framework, which focuses on the use of empirical process. So the main thing is you being able to quickly deliver and respond to change. Requirements can come up at any point. You're allowed to be flexible enough to make changes to what you've developed, make changes to what you're testing, and ultimately, this is a feedback and customer focused method of delivery where when you deliver an increment, you are getting feedback, and which is something that we do not do a lot of in practice. Ideally, you are supposed to get back to the users and say, we've delivered this. What's your reaction? How are you interacting with the solution? What's your feedback for us to make those changes? And naturally, the feedback from the customer is what would come back into your product backlog and ultimately into your sprint backlog when it's prioritized. So it's a very like a cycle where you are constantly making changes, constantly getting feedback, constantly pushing out new or upgraded features on that solution, and it thrives in a product an environment with a product mindset. So there's a project mindset and there's a product mindset. This thrives in a product mindset where there are specific products and there are teams working on those products. Those teams are responsible for growing that product based on the product vision. But usually, what we see a lot of is people try to shoehorn the agile process into your projects, which it can still work, but everyone just needs to do a lot more for it to work effectively. Just go straight to the values: individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation. These are things that we've heard of before for some of us that have heard about or done some agile projects. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change over following a plan. So it just gives you that feeling that this is very flexible, right? This is not a there's one person in charge, which is the project manager in the typical sense, and then he lets everyone know what they're supposed to do, and it's he takes ultimate responsibility for the delivery of the project. In this case, it's a shared thing. Like everyone is responsible. Everyone is you hear the word cross-functional. Everyone knows what they're supposed to do and does their job. We all share the success, share the failures also on those products. And the good thing about agile methodology is that it allows you to fail fast. So you have a requirement, a high-level requirement to create a product. Let me use an example. To create a product that does transfers, right? But you authenticate using your face. Just this is just an example. Now, if you're using that your typical agile project delivery method, you'll be able to come up with an MVP, that's the minimum viable product, get it out there as soon as possible, and get feedback. So you can even understand from customers that will tell you, oh, this is not, I'm not going to use this product. Why? Because the way I authenticate today, I use my PIN. And if I'm using my PIN, it takes me 2 seconds to input my PIN, and then transaction goes through. But then if I'm using your face scanner to authenticate my transaction, it takes a while because sometimes it takes typically 20 seconds for the scan to be completed, or it relies on some form of network layer, and then maybe when your data is not good enough, you can't really authenticate your face and all of that. So the users will be able to tell you, we don't need this thing. And because you've just done your MVP and gone out, and then you've got some feedback that it doesn't work, you can easily say, oh, this is not going to work for us. We can end this product, right? And then you failed fast and you've been able to move forward. You're not held back by it. But if you're going through the typical waterfall way, then you would have used
Can't hear your
maybe.
voice, oh.
Okay, at what point could you not hear me anymore? I know where to come from. Hello, at what point could you not hear me? Hello, can anyone hear me at all?
I can hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, hello? Okay, so it seems like Ayo can hear me,
Yeah, I can hear you.
but
I
it's this
don't know
morning
if
that can't hear me.
I can hear you as well. I think it's his network.
Okay,
Okay.
I
It's a
can hear
bit
you now. I
messy
can hear
here.
you now. Yes, I can hear you now. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm just
Okay.
coming on and off. My network is having issues.
Is your
Thank you.
network?
No problem. So I was saying that if you're using the waterfall method, you would have probably spent 6 months delivering the solution, because you're usually delivering with the full view in mind, with the full specifications of that solution. And then you go to market and you realize that nobody's using it. And then there's the pressure on the business team to drive some numbers that are never going to happen. Why? Because at the end of the day, the users, that's your customers, are not interested in it, because they feel like, based on this example I gave of using your face to authenticate, they feel like it's faster for them to use their PIN, right? So they don't need this product because they have alternative products that they can use to achieve the same thing. But then if you now look at the effort that has gone into it, the time that has been spent, the money that has been spent, it's much easier for us when we're using this agile method, where we can get to market as soon as possible and understand what it is that the customers need. Ideally, even before you start, um, you should have an idea. The product owner should have an idea of what the customers are actually looking for, and that's the good thing about it. Um, as much as we try to do that, sometimes it's difficult to get all of that in practice. It's more of a best best practice against best fit. So every organization will always choose best fit, but we as professionals, we have to make sure that we are still enforcing some of these agile guidelines so that we can deliver better solutions to our customers. There's some agile models that are being used: extreme programming, Scrum, feature-driven development. You can go to read about this. The most popular one, I think that's something that, especially here in Nigeria, we hear a lot about, is Scrum. And it's something that most corporates are trying to embrace, having the traditional scrum master, product owner, then the standard development team. It's something that everyone is trying to embrace, but there are other methods that can be used. It's always better for you to find what works best for your organization and for what you are trying to do. So I'll just move to the next slide. Time. So now we're going to look at an iterative workflow. So in this workflow, it's really talking about the agile cycle and how you can make it work for you. The first step is to define requirements. Then you have if you're building a typical app, you're defining requirements, doing your UI design, going into code development, making sure that it's been tested. Then you have your UAT with your stakeholders, and then there's always a release question. So you ask yourself, are we releasing in this sprint, or we are not releasing? So it's not required that you must release what you've done in every sprint. It's up to the team to make those decisions. the whole Scrum team, if you're using the Scrum framework, to work together to make those decisions on whether you're going to release in that sprint or not. But as always, it's a cycle. So you keep on doing this, you keep on defining requirements and all of that. So it's not, you don't deliver a solution, you don't release maybe your MVP one, and then everyone goes to rest and say, okay, yes, we've delivered MVP one, we're taking a break. No, it's you deliver MVP one, you're already talking about your sprint planning for MVP two. You're working on your sprint backlog for MVP two. You're developing MVP two. You're moving on. You keep on making sure that you're delivering something new as fast as you can. A typical sprint would last between 2 to 4 weeks, but as always, it just depends on what works for you and for your organization. So now, how to make agile work for you? It's very important that you have daily meetings. It's very important that everybody is coming together to talk, right? You are talking about your issues, talking about your impediments, and then you are addressing those issues as they come along. If you're using the waterfall model, you could sometimes discover things very late. But when you are always on the call, meeting daily with your stakeholders, that the key people working on the developments, you can understand issues faster, and you can also solve those issues faster. The developers can raise issues and say, oh, I can't connect to this environment, I'm having issues reaching this endpoint, and then everybody's addressing it, right? Your QA person is talking about how when she was testing she got this error, and everyone is working on it. It just brings everyone together. It allows you to communicate better, and as you're communicating better, you're actually delivering better. Then the live demonstrations part, that's your sprint review. You're bringing your stakeholders together to show them what you've done. Feedback is very key. Always important for you to get feedback from people. Always important for you to understand how the users are interacting with that solution. And I will ask a question to everyone here. Have you ever worked on a solution and you got feedback from an actual user? If yes, what was that feedback? So anyone can answer this. Hello? Hello?
Hear me? Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, I can
So
hear you.
yes, I said I've worked on a solution where I had to get feedback from the users before even starting. I wanted to know if it's something they would like, and if it's really meeting a core need. So I had to sample some. It was word of mouth. How do you feel about this solution that would help you do this, do this, do this? Do you think it's something that would fly? Do you think it's something you would like to subscribe to? And the feedback was a bit positive. So I had to embark on the actual project. So I've worked on something like that.
Oh, that's good. Do we have anyone else that has a similar experience?
Yeah, I do. I'm about to work on a product that we get like feedbacks from the user, you know, in every one of our sprints. So the users are like, they come to our sprint planning, so they know what exactly we're working on for that sprint, and they kind of, give in their input. So I think that, so it depends. Usually it's like a practice in some places. So it's a norm that they do that all the time. But some places, you just leave users, and then when you're done, you go meet them. So I think it depends. But I've been in that, situation whereby we get like users to come into a sprint meeting every week, every 2 weeks.
That's good. And one good way to get feedback is by surveys. So we have lots of free survey makers like the Google Forms and I think Microsoft Forms also. You can create a quick survey and send out to people to get feedback. And it's something that I've come across a lot, especially when you're starting a product. So as much as you feel like yes, spoken to a few people, you know what the customers want. The surveys are just a way for you to back it up with your proof. So if you are pitching your, let's imagine that you've done something, a private project, and you are pitching it to a potential investor, and then you're passionate about it and saying that, yeah, this is something that people want. Then when they ask you, okay, how do you know that people want this thing? It's A survey is just a good way for you to provide that evidence and say, oh yes, I sent surveys to 200 people. Out of the 200 people, 150 responded, and they said, and about maybe 90% of them said that the solution is what they're looking for right now, and that kind of thing. So it's another good way for you to get your feedback from your users, and to ultimately help to shape how your product is going to come out. These things are very small but very important, because the core of it is the final user. You're thinking about the person that's going to use it, and you have that person in mind, because if the user is not impressed, you can have a fantastic product, but people just won't use it. And if nobody uses it, the product is useless. We are all trying to be the best in our own field, and make sure that the things that we are associated with are top quality. So it's very important that we always try to get feedback from users. I know it can be difficult in some organizations, but try as much as you can to get feedback, to make sure that what you are doing is appreciated and being used outside by the final users, which are the customers. So, okay, so sorry. Key components and benefits of Agile project delivery. So we have user stories, which are very important. So your user story would usually follow the, as a user, the format of, as a user, I want XYZ, so that XYZ. So you're saying, for example, you can see something like, as a user, I want an app. Based on my initial example, I want an app where I can um, make transfers and authenticate those transactions using my face, so that I don't have to remember my PIN. It could just be your user story, right? And then you put your business rules and acceptance criteria, process flows, and all of that, just to firm up the idea. But user stories are very important. User story, having a user story implies that you are looking at it from the user perspective. There is a user in this case that you brought out to say, okay, this, according to this person, this is how the solution should look. So you've built your persona, and then you're building a user story based on that. So user stories are very important. Then sprints, yes, you have to break your work down into sprints, because you want to make sure that you are not looking at the full picture at once and then overwhelmed by the weight of it. You're breaking it down into sprints, deciding the things that should go into the sprint, and then working focused on that sprint. When you're done with the sprint, you can now have your sprint review, your stakeholders. Stand-up meetings, as I said, daily meetings are very important. It's very important for you to meet daily with your team, so that you guys are communicating, you guys are addressing issues, you guys are tracking the work that is being done, right? Because if you're not meeting, I'll give an example. If the developer is supposed to use maybe 3 days to perform or clear 5 items, that's 5 tasks on him, right? If you're not meeting with that developer daily, it's possible that on the third day, when you come to the developer, you're like, okay, hi, you're supposed to be done with all your tasks today, and he's like, oh, I had a network issue, and I've actually not started. So if you can give me an extra 2 days so I can tidy it up, and it becomes a problem for you. But if you're meeting daily, he's able to tell you his issues, tell you what he's going through, and then you're able to provide the solution to it. And then also the backlog. So the backlog is where you keep all your user stories, all your requirements, and then at your sprint planning, you're looking at the backlog, which is an ordered list of features for the product. So looking at the list of the features and saying, okay, we can do item 1, item 5, item 10, item 12 in this sprint. That's But you need a backlog. You can't make those decisions without having a proper backlog that is um, prioritized and properly listed, so that everyone knows that's where like every single requirement concerning that product is going to. So if you're working as a product owner on any of your products or projects, you keep every single requirement there. You keep every single requirement there. So you just anything that comes to mind, because as I said, when you're starting an agile project, you don't need to have the full view. So you just keep any requirement that comes to your mind, make sure you add it to the backlog. Everyone will review the backlog at the time of sprint planning to decide what goes into that sprint backlog. And the benefits of all this is faster delivery, increased adaptability, higher quality of products that are being delivered. I think I've spent too much time talking about this. I'll just let everyone else come in at this point. If you have any question, you can please ask. We can all discuss here. Thank you very much.
Okay, sorry, thank you. The other time when my network cut me off, I heard you were talking something about waterfall. So I didn't get that part. So what were you saying then?
Yes, sorry, I didn't get the question. Please can you come again?
Okay, I said when my network cut me off, I just overheard, I connected. I heard you talking about waterfall model. So what were you explaining then in this agile that has to do with waterfall?
Oh no, I was referencing the waterfall model. The agile method and the waterfall model are very, very different. So you have in your typical waterfall uh, project delivery style, you are seeing a full you have a full view of the project or the product that you are delivering. You would have project plans that are running into 6 months, 2 years for some extreme projects. So that's those enterprise level projects, and you are taking on the full bulk of the work at once. It's not allowing you to change, right? Because as you've done your 6 months or 3 months project plan, if a new requirement comes in, or if someone comes and says, oh, if you're trying to do this, you need to connect to this environment using something, or maybe using your API manager or something. It just changes the direction of the project, and then everyone now has to go back, and you're thinking about, oh, maybe we have to raise a change request because a new requirement has come in and we don't know how to address it in this current phase of the project. We can't address it now. We have to probably extend the project timeline by a month or two, right? But that's for the waterfall. But if you're using agile, because you're working with sprints, it's very flexible and you can always make changes. You can always incorporate new requirements into what you're working on, and you don't need to have a full view of the product or the project. You don't need to know exactly every single thing about it because you are learning as you go. You are working on your minimum viable product, which is what you understand as at the moment that you are starting the project. But then as you work on it, you learn new things, you see new requirements, you get your feedback from your customers, you realize that, oh, we might need to change this part of this product, we might need to adjust this, we might need to add this, we might need to remove this. And because you're working in that agile way, you can easily make those changes. You can easily add them to the backlog and prioritize them for the next sprint and quickly make those changes. But for the waterfall, it's very difficult to change because this delivery cycle is very clear. So it's very difficult to make changes when there are new requirements that are very pressing. So that was what I was referring to. I was kind of comparing the waterfall model to the agile model.
All right, great. So I also have a quick, Emmanuel, are you okay with the response? Okay, I think he's on mute. Okay, so I also,
I am.
Okay.
I said I'm fine with it, yes.
Good. I also have a question. In an environment where you sometimes the request comes from the board, and you already told what to do, the time it should be delivered, and all that. How possible would it be to walk them through the agile method, let them know, at least go through the agile method, getting user feedback first and going through all the phases that has to do with the agile method of project delivery? how do you walk them through that? Because sometimes the project just comes from above. I need this in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and you don't have any option but to somehow you don't have any option but to deliver it in 2 weeks, and you know realistically that 2 weeks might be impossible to have that project deliver. It will
Yeah.
be very, very stressful. How do you walk them through or let them know the agile method of project delivery?
So you don't really need to educate them on the agile method of delivery. You don't need to start trying to organize the session with the board. The board will never, they will take you
Yeah.
seriously. But what you can do is this: it's very important to have an MVP or minimum viable product. So they are telling you that they want this solution to go out in 2 weeks, right? But then it's up to the team that, especially this falls a lot on the product owner, to understand what is it that I can deliver in these 2 weeks that will meet the minimum requirements. So I'll give an example. In Access Bank, there was a solution that we started in 2018, and this solution involves sending money across borders, and the initial timeline given by the board was about 13 days. They wanted it done in 13 days, which was impossible if we're being honest. But that was what they wanted. They wanted it done in 13 days.
Yeah.
So what we had to do was we had to understand what can we do. So if you're talking about a solution that deals with sending money, making transfers across borders, there are some things that are very important and some things that are not so important, right? So you're considering, if you're looking at the typical IMTO, is it cash-based transfer you're doing, which is your beneficiaries are receiving cash, or are you doing account-based transfers? And then you have to understand what you're going to do if you're choosing any of them. For account-based transfers, that means you are going to have a direct connection to the core banking of another country where they'll be able to debit the receivables and credit the beneficiary account and all of that. But if you're doing cash, you might not need to have that connection. You can still devise a semi-automatic method that would meet the minimum requirements. But then, because you're using Agile, you know that that is not the end, right? They've given you a 2-week deadline, right? You deliver your minimum viable product while still letting everyone know that this is not the end of this product. We have a roadmap that we are following. We know where we are going to. But due to the pressures we are, because I get you, it's not every environment that you can come to and you would come and say, oh, you're using Agile, so nobody should stress you with timelines. It doesn't really work like that, because the guys at the top level, they have their own needs, and they will tell you, I don't care whatever methodology you're trying to introduce, you have to deliver this thing in 2 weeks, or you have to deliver it in a month. But you just have to understand what is your MVP, what can you deliver that will meet their minimum requirements, right? And then from there you can move on, you can build from there. But it's very important that even when you deliver that MVP, you still get feedback from your customers, so you know the things and the changes to incorporate into your next sprint. So Sunday, it's difficult to coach the board, but using the concept of MVPs, you can meet their minimum requirements, and from there move on to deliver the full picture that they are looking for.
That makes sense. Please, the meeting will cut. It will end in less than 1 minute. We'll rejoin to then wrap up. I'll just start it almost immediately to wrap up. Okay, I'm fine with the response. I think that makes sense. Minimum viable product. Coming up with that. I'm fine with that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Is there any other question from any of our attendees?
You have a question.
Okay. All right,
Yeah,
great.
so what I would ask is, how would you recommend to measure the success of